Okay, in this video we're going to create the slouchy hat that I created. It's just my version of a slouchy hat. There's 1,000,001 patterns online, what have you, but this is just my version, so be it as it may. First we're going to start with a chain of 80 to create this outer portion, because we're going to start from the opening of the hat. Then we're going to move on to double crochets, which will create the ribbing that I have here. This is very simple. It's just double crochets, front and back post. It'll create that ribbing look that we're looking for right here. And then, so I'm going to start that with blue because I want the outer portion, this gray portion, to be blue, and then I'm going to use this orange color for these markings and the back portion. Okay, so let's get started. First thing you're going to need is 2 hooks. You're going to need an H hook, which is a 5mm hook. You're going to need a K hook, which is a 6.5mm hook. Now, if you want your hat to be smaller, just use smaller hooks. Basically, it'll shrink the hat down a smaller size. Whenever you want to make something smaller, use a smaller hook or thinner yarn. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 80. We need to create a slip knot, so this is my way of creating a slip knot. I just wrap the yarn around like this and create a little loop around my fingers. Then I pull the yarn through like so. And now you have this little loop here. So we're going to start with our H hook, which is our 5mm hook. Put your hook through the loop, pull it loosely around the hook, and now we're going to chain 80. So go ahead and chain 80. Okay, I just want to make a quick correction in all of the video series for this pattern. I refer to these as puff stitches. These are not puff stitches. These are cluster stitches. So when you hear me refer to a puff stitch, that's just what I call them. I'm not a professional designer of any sorts. I just like to share things that I create. I'm calling them puff stitches, but they're really not. They are cluster stitches. So, but that will reflect that in the pattern, in the written pattern on my website. But I just want to make that correction before we continue any further. Thanks. Okay, we've chained 80. So here's your chain of 80. What we're going to do now is we're going to join it. Let me flip this around here. All right. We're going to join it here on your first chain. It's a little monotonous at first, just getting it started, but once you get it started, it'll go really easily. All right, so you join it with a slip knot, and you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Use that as your first double crochet. So when you join it, when we come around to at the end of this row, we're going to join it at this top chain here. I don't know if you can see that. We're at the top chain here on your 3rd stitch. So what you're going to do in this row is we're going to count this as row 1. We're just going to double crochet in each around. Okay, we're at the end of the row 1. We chained 80. See, now this is where I said a lot of times if you were doing single crochets that you would have to start over because it twists. Let me turn this off so you can see. Because it twists. But all you have to do is just twist it back. Crochet is very forgiving. If you fudge something, nobody's ever going to see it. So just fix it and move on. Don't fret over it and just let it happen. But you can fix it. Just twist it around and make it so it's correct. So you make sure that your rim is all the way correct around, like so. And then, like I said, if it twisted, just kind of twist it back before you join this row, because once you join the row, you're just asking for trouble after that. You might as well start over. So what we're going to do is we're going to join at the top of that first chain, and we're going to go into that third chain. So right at the top here, which is the third chain. Okay. And we're still going to join it with a slip stitch. Now, so now it's joined with a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So a lot of people like to create a marker, but since we're joining rows, you don't really need to because you'll know where you're at. But if you like to, you can just do this. You can just get a contrasting piece of yarn and just kind of put it right there, like so. And so now what we're going to do in this row, this is row 2. We're going to do this for 5 rows. So you're just going to join, chain 3, and do it again. Do exactly the same thing, but 5 times. So we're going to go around this 5 more times, joining and chaining 3 each row. So what we're going to do is we're going to count this as our front post right here, because we're going to do front post, back post, double crochets. To do a front post, you just wrap your yarn around, put your little yarn marker here. So this stitch right here, I don't know if you can see that. So right here, we're going to go through the post on this. So we're going to go under, we're going to do, I considered that my front post. So we're going to start with a back post. So you wrap your hook around, come into that chain space, and go through the next chain space. And then you're going to pull the yarn through the front. Well, actually, that's the back. And then you're going to do a double. Okay, now you're going to do a front post. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go under, down through the hole, through the chain space, and up underneath that post. So it's in front of the work. And then you're going to do a double crochet. Now you're just going to do that back and forth, all the way around that row, and you're going to do that for 5 rows. Okay, you should be at the end of your row 5 now, and this was what you should have. See, it creates this great ribbing all around. See how it goes? So that is the beginning of your slouchy hat. And that's going to be the base that goes around the head. But don't, when you get to the end of this row, don't join off, or don't join. You're going to join it, but what we're going to do is we're going to switch colors. And I want to keep these videos kind of under 10 minutes if I can possibly do that. That way they're not so extremely long to sit through. And by all means, if you can afford to buy a pattern from someone, do it. Support your local designers and crochet community. I'll see you in part 2.